Hi there, I'm Richard Hill, the host of eCommerce One, and welcome to episode 202. In this episode, I speak with Alex Stewart, CEO and founder at Pact. Straight out of UEA, Alex started his journey to create Pact, who are on a mission to make eating well effortless with delicious organic fruit and veg that can be stored in the freezer. We talk the mission behind Pact, why do we have such a dangerous obesity epidemic in the UK, and why nutrition is so important in fighting it, a big one that, how Pact managed to break into a hugely saturated market, and getting those early listings in the high street with the big players, and of course their e-commerce journey, and so much more in this episode. If you enjoyed this episode, hit the subscribe or follow button wherever you are listening to this podcast, so you're always the first to know when a new episode is released. Now, let's head over to this fantastic episode. Hi Alex, how you doing?
Hi, Richard. I'm good, thanks. How are you?
I'm really well, really well. A little bit of flu still, but it's we're nearly there. But yeah, well, thanks for coming on the show. Been looking forward to this. I know we've had to reschedule a couple of times, so I do apologise. But thanks so much for coming on the show. I think before we get into it, it'd be great for you to introduce yourself and how you got into the world of e-commerce and Pact.
Okay, so my name's Alex Stewart. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Pact. We do organic frozen fruit and vegetables, smoothie kits, meals, and all natural food that makes you feel great. We got into the world of e-commerce really because we were a retail brand to start with. We'd been into Sainsbury's, been in Tesco, Ocado, and COVID happened. And we'd always had the thought that this would be a great product to do online. We'd seen on Ocado, we'd had good success. But it was the headache of how are we going to get a frozen product? How are we going to get, a frozen bag of fruit over to a customer? And that kind of put us off. But then, with the right motivation, it's amazing what you can do. So we got started and then haven't looked back from there.
Wow. So you say, so you were in the high street before you were online, is that right?
Yeah. So we've been with Sainsbury's, Tesco, Ocado, transport the Costco. Just a little bit here and there sort of thing. But it was COVID that made us go online, and fastest growing part of our business, and kind of, it worked out in the end, but why didn't we do it sooner?
So give us a feel, and give our listeners a sort of a feel for the journey then. So how old is the business now, and sort of the journey over the last few years of sort of the growth journey, maybe size of the business now?
Yeah, so the business has just turned 10. So we were, although at the very beginning, we were basically a market stall in London just selling smoothies. That took us to about 1.5. We then got some money, and the idea had always been to do a smoothie product that people could blend at home themselves. So think of rather than have an innocent smoothie, if you wanted to make your own smoothie at home that had all the bells and whistles, you could do that quickly, easily, and you wouldn't have to make any of the compromises you might be making if you're buying someone else's product rather than making it yourself. So we launched with that, and then quite quickly got picked up with like Whole Foods, Planet Organic, places like that, and then we're at a trade show, met Tesco, met Sainsbury's, and kind of got in quite quickly, but with one SKU. So we were kind of like foot in the door stuff, but holding on to the listings sort of by the skin of our teeth. We didn't have very much money to sort of support, and we didn't really know what we were doing. We're kind of figuring it out on the job. And like I said, as we got into COVID and stuff like that, we'd sort of already had the thought about, online really being the place for us, and that just finally gave us the motivation to do it. So that we went from, we still do the retail, but obviously the online's been a great success, and probably what is the fastest growing part of the business.
Wow. Love it. So market stall. I love this because that was me quite some time ago, a little bit further back than yourself, but I had a car boot stall, as I would call it.
Oh, nice.
Trestle table with every single penny I had in the world was sat on that trestle table back in 1997, I think it was, rings a bell, 98. So that's, a while ago with my transit van. That is absolutely how it starts, isn't it? Just with a little seed of an idea, and you're sort of just going for it and thinking, right, we need to sell some stuff because everything I own sitting on this table, potentially similar to your story sort of thing. Yeah. And then fast forward 10 years, obviously doing some amazing stuff. So that first listing, obviously you just sort of step, we got Whole Foods and we got, but obviously getting that first big listing, maybe step me through or think about for our listeners, how did that come about? Any sort of advice to people that are trying to get listings for the first time, maybe in, the bigger retailers, the high street?
I would say that, so you can kind of make your own luck in the sense that we had this bit of money that we'd raised, which got our product into production, and then we had some money to sort of hit a few trade shows and basically just try and speak to whoever we could. I mean, you can LinkedIn stalk people and find your contact.
Trade shows was the sort of big one, was it?
Well, yeah, we did a couple and just sort of, you've got to speak to literally everybody because you never know who it's going to be, and we sort of stopped someone, grabbed them, kind of forced a smoothie down there, on them, and then
yeah,
and then they went, oh, that's nice, and then went, oi, to their friend who'd walked off.
Yeah,
they came back, and that was the buyer for Tesco Express, and they said,
wow.
oh, I love it, and that got things moving, and started that journey. We started the conversation.
Proper hustle, then, really, isn't it?
Yeah. So make your own luck, get out there, do it. Don't be afraid, and I'd say that, don't be afraid and just go for it.
Yeah, I think that really resonates with me because I think I go to quite a lot of trade shows. We talk about trade shows a lot on different podcast episodes, but obviously to do a trade show, it can be quite an expense depending on how you do it. If you've got a stand, etc., then there's quite a commitment. But then it is about the hustle at those expos and those trade shows and getting out there and just feeling the fear and speaking to people, because there's nothing worse than when I walk around a trade show, I see companies that have obviously spent thousands, potentially, or tens of thousands on some space, and they're sat on their chair, they're sat back waiting for people to come to them. You just think, guys, you just spent a fortune. Your team need to be up, they need to be out, they need to
be,
hi guys, what are you doing? What are you looking for today? And and having that, and it takes a certain, obviously as a founder owner, you've got a bit more reason to do that because your arse is on the line basically if it doesn't work. But if you're going there with a team, but even so, you've got to push, haven't you? And obviously it sounds like that, just sort of pushing to say, try.
I knew how much
each out to me.
Yeah. I knew, like you were saying, thousands of pounds and everything. You're thinking this has to work. We've got to get something from this. So that was it. Yeah,
so trade shows, they got your first listing, but obviously, I think the sort of obviously the type of market that you're focused on, or the type of product is very much nutritional, products. I know it's seems like quite a dangerous obesity epidemic in the UK at the moment. Why do you think that is, and how have you sort of tapped into that with your products? Your products are very much targeting people, or different types of people, I guess, but it's obviously a very nutritional focus. But at the same respect, there's just seems to be more and more and more of an epidemic out there when it comes to sort of obesity and things like that.
So we target everyone basically, because everybody can benefit from basically eating healthily. That's sort of our mission. Our goal is to make it as accessible as possible for everyone to eat the right food, so they feel great, and live the life they want to lead. We do find, like, when we're out, people we're speaking to, that there are people with sort of nutritional needs and everything that can use a product because it is nutrient dense and low calorie and works with a lot of we don't use any allergens, things like that, so it is really friendly for people with different conditions or different needs. But in terms of the obesity epidemic, I'd say that a bit of a convert for the ultra processed movement, and that's a bit of a convert. We've been doing it since the very beginning, but he really lays it out clearly in what it's called, ultra processed people. That basically what it seems to be is that we've lost contact with food and what real food is, and we're buying what's available in the shops. But the shops aren't necessarily like a public service; they're a business, and they're going to sell what makes sense for them as a business. And so, I think it's turning, and people are waking up to the link between what they put in their body and the health outcomes that come with it. And I think there's more, a long way to go on the journey, but I think that's at the root of it.
Yeah, it seems like, and obviously I was looking at your product range before we came on, and the sort of, I know I've got two teenage boys who are, older teenagers that are sort of obsessed with fitness and health, and it seems like just a cracking set of products you've got. We have a thing in our house, we call it a skier bowl, and I think it's just what it's called. I think it's just, I think there's some couple of guys on Instagram that my lads follow. They have this quirky thing about it, and we create these crazy skier bowls at home, with like skier in the bottom, and then all the different fruits, and then we've got some frozen, some obviously not frozen, and then we'll put some honey on it, but we have to have a certain type of honey because some of the honey's really bad with a lot of sugar in it. So my sons made me buy the £7 honey instead of the £2 honey. And then, then we put a bit of oats on top, and you end up with this massive bloody great bowl full, but it's blooming lovely. But where I'm going with this, I'm just thinking, how do you get, like that obviously a lot of that stuff is frozen. How do you get the products sort of I'm intrigued how you get the products delivered and intact and still, not a mess, not sort of, how do you do that, deal with the frozen side of things?
Yeah, well, this was what was holding us back, because we were in your situation or shoes, basically. That's what we were thinking. But what we did is, the way to do it is we use dry ice, which is sort of basically frozen carbon dioxide sublimates at minus 25 degrees. So everything's packed up with dry ice in there, insulator, and then it goes out in the ambient courier network overnight. So it's on a next day service the next day. So the dry ice will get you about 48 hours. I mean, if the sun's shining, it potentially less, but luckily or unluckily, we live in the UK and it doesn't shine quite so hard enough, or maybe for 1 week of the year. But that's how we do it.
So that was quite a testing process then, was it? You sort of thought, dry ice. How did you obviously had an inkling that dry ice, or research what other people are maybe doing, got a feel for, dry ice, tried it, found a supplier, that type of thing, tested it?
Yeah, we actually, at the time, I think there are a couple of fulfillment partners out there that do specialize in frozen, but they were working with they work with some of the big boys, like they're doing stuff for Gusto and for Mindful Chef and everything. They're doing, tens of thousands of orders a week for them. So we were we stumbled across a dry ice supplier that wanted to get into the fulfillment game. So that it was a good place to start. And then we still work with those guys, but with a different fulfillment partner now. It's just about, finding something, Google bashing, getting out there, finding something to work for you.
Yeah.
But you don't.
So that was quite an aha moment then when you found that, and you obviously found that it worked. You're like, we can ship these things, the products, and then that was sort of tied in with the website. Then that journey, the more recent journey of the e-commerce side, then tied in quite well with actually how you're able to ship them to individuals.
Well, and then we could go, and then we could,
everything.
Yeah, to get serious about an online business, because obviously if you can't deliver the product, you don't really have a business. So as soon as we had that. It's been a bit of trial and error and stuff, and how much dry ice and what conditions, and who's doing the drops and everything like that. But it's just iteration, and you learn as you go and try and get better each time. So it's once we've got that, then we could think about all the other things you need to do to have a successful e-com business.
So the e-com business is 4 years old then, ish, give or take? Is that something like that?
Yeah, so I'd say it's roughly.
Third or fourth. So what would you say then? It's a very competitive market. Anything, we've had we were talking to some of the guys behind Innocent a couple of weeks ago. The copywriting team behind that, and just obviously very, very, very. It's a very competitive market. How do you think you've managed to sort of break into that? Obviously, you've got a fairly, I say unique, it's probably not. I don't know. As in there's, but it's a very, sort of healthy snacks, healthy food, healthy. Obviously, there's all different products there. What would you say? How have you managed to really break into that? You've got some listings, got known on the high street retail, but in terms of then launching the e-commerce side, really flipping to the e-com side, how have you managed to really be a success with that? Would you say?
I'd say we had to figure it out. It was there wasn't so much the same customers that buy in store are buying online. I think it's a very different customer. So it's just about going out and finding those customers. So try to keep it kind of simple with our, paid media strategy and what we're going out, what our proposition is, and just kind of iterating really. I'd say that we're still very much in our infancy. We've got some decent traction, but I think there's I think the more I've learned as we've gone on the journey, there's always another layout or the whole like host of things you can do sort of as you go. So I think we've had some really good early progress, but we're still on the journey and still learning.
So exciting times at the moment then. So obviously it's not that, 3 or 4 years, obviously mega traction. So it's quite a bit of focus at the moment. Then on the social side, you're saying about social or the ad side, social ads and social promoting on socials.
Yeah. So, but I think that you can go overboard with that. So like we've recently just done a bit of a sense check on like, what are we paying to acquire a customer? Does that make sense? Yeah. Does the rest of everything make that stack up? How long are we keeping the customer for? What's it costing us for us? The delivery is such an expensive part that it's really got to make sense. So, it's just keeping tabs on all of that and trying to make improvements kind of, to every leg of the stool at the same time, just little bits here and there. Not really about just like lumping it all on. And I've learned this the hard way because you see a bit of progress, you think, right, let's do more, and then
let's go all in.
And then you realize that you quite work like that. So and like you do more on this side, and then for example, if you might get a load of orders in, but then your customer service is sort of falling down because it's just not at the same level. And so it's just about, I think, taking it steady, like a set of stairs, rather than trying to launch.
Enjoy the journey. Be careful not to try and take 4 steps on the ladder at once, sort of thing. And shit.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. Yeah. I guess that ties in quite nicely to where I'd like to go with this, because I think obviously you're trying a few different things. A fairly new business in terms of the e-commerce side of things, but obviously phenomenal progress. But it's the type of products, obviously, that people maybe trying for the first time. Obviously, got a lot of loyal customers as well. But and I see you've obviously got a subscribe and save option, which I would expect, and I'd be telling you need to get that sorted if you hadn't. So obviously, encouraging people to improve basket size by obviously trying more flavors and different products, but then getting them then to subscribe. Maybe step us through what you've learned with doing that, and sort of any advice you would give to listeners, because there's nothing better than a subscription, is there? I don't think, we talk about it a lot. My business, every single business I have is subscription ish. There's nothing better than waking up to, whatever it may be, knowing next month you've got X amount already locked in. How fundamental has that been to sort of the success? And also, what advice would you give to people thinking about subscription or helping with their subscription?
So, it's huge subscription. So we know that when someone subscribes, they're sort of, we've got them for about 3 times longer than we would otherwise, as sort of an average. And I think it's, we've been recently having this discussion. Every time I see our subscriber numbers and they're steadily tracking up in the, it's going in the right direction, I'm less worried about like the, other metrics or the data. For me, that's the big one, because that sort of shows basically who's buying into the brand and who's sort of, loyal and with you for the long term. So I think it's huge. I'd say that we recently had this conversation about, making subscription a sort of priority. And some of the challenge back that came in the discussion was, you wouldn't ask someone to marry you before you've been on a date, sort of thing. So I think there's definitely room for, we operate both. We're not exclusively subscription. We it's a shop and there's a subscribe option. So I think it's, we want to be part of people's lifestyles and something they do regularly. So it's all about getting them on board, getting them to try, hopefully have a great experience, and then making it easier for them to sort of, they're incentivized to sort of stay with you for the long term. Yeah.
So 3 months, you said. obviously that's probably, not an exact science, but 3 months, obviously taking a single order to maybe three orders. Have you done anything specific to try and extend that you could share with, or as things that you're working on now around obviously getting people to stick longer? If you know that people are staying sort of 3 months or 3 cycles, whether that's bi-monthly or whatever it may be, or have you tested monthly? Have you got different options in there? Is it quarterly, monthly?
We've got 2 weeks, 4 weeks, 6 weeks, and 8 weeks for your subscription.
Yeah.
Basically the average subscriber that we've got has been with us for about 8 orders. So once they stay, they're really sticky. Whereas it's sort of 2 and a bit for those that are shoppers. So
if you get them past the second, third order, they stay for 8 more. So of the subscribers. So if they if they subscribe, and then obviously there's churn within the subscriber base and everything, but the guys that once they're in, they tend to be with us for a longer time than we're placing more orders and with us longer than shoppers. So we're just trying to incentivize that as best we can by obviously having a save option. We're looking at loyalty programs, things like that can help show the love to our subscribers and get people on board. Yeah.
Now, you might be looking for an SEO boost, a down-to-earth digital PR campaign to share your story, or maybe just some straightforward technical help to amp up your performance. Now, that's where eCom Now comes in. A partner that's all about making things easier for your online store. Our services cover everything from creating professional content for your e-commerce categories to refining your product descriptions. Now, whether you're just starting out or have been in it for a while, we're here to deliver real, impactful results that add to your bottom line without unnecessary commitments. You can order one-off or multiple projects with a quick turnaround. Simply choose what you need.
You do anything with sort of building out community around that sort of subscriber base so they can sort of share their experiences and maybe more of their health side of things and anything on the pipeline around that?
I think it's not. I'm not sure what happened to it, but we had a sort of like Packed Peeps sort of Facebook page and things like that. And I think we need to. That's part of what we're trying to do with this loyalty program. Sort of have a if you like, sort of, I don't know, a zone, an area, a place for us to build that, because I think it's so important. Once the subscribers are the core of the online business, and it's our main users, people can learn a hell of a lot from, and want to sort of support and build that community.
Yeah. So when somebody goes to cancel, do you have any sort of tips there to try and persuade them otherwise that you're doing, or is that still something you're working on?
I'm sure you've been there. If you want to cancel, you want to cancel.
Yeah.
That's it.
I'm obsessed with subscriptions, so I've got so many. Well, I did have, especially in COVID. I think I signed up for about 5 coffee companies in COVID for subscriptions. Then you go and cancel, and they're like, they're offering me a free, Brazilian blah blah. I'll leave it, and then I've still got 5. I can't trim it down. I haven't anymore. I actually cancelled them all, but that was a few years ago. But I've got other subscriptions, obviously. But the way different firms do, obviously trying to entice you to stay. What are you doing anything with that?
I'm not, but I know that I've had Now TV, and I know that ending in Now TV.
Exactly.
Like, honestly, you've got to be prepared for like a 10-minute conversation with what they're using.
Yeah. You sure you want to cancel? Yes. Are you really sure you want to cancel? Yes. How about we give you at half price for 3 months? Oh.
Yeah. Maybe.
No. How about we give you 6 months? Oh man.
Yeah, they don't make it easy, which I guess is the point. But we don't.
Yeah.
I kind of my view. I mean, I think there's probably a place for that. I think the Now example is like it goes on too much, and I think I wouldn't want to.
Yeah.
I think it doesn't leave the right taste in the mouth for the customer and the relationship you want with them. And I think that there should be more trust in the sense of, for whatever reason, it's not right for them now, but they're on your email database.
Yeah.
You can get back in touch, let them know if there's an offer you want to give them, or got some new news that you can. You haven't not losing that person forever. It's just, it's sort of, if you like, treating it like it's on pause.
Do you do a pause option? I'm labouring this point because I'm just really interested. Do you do like just pause for 3 months, say it triggers again?
We do, but our website is not. I mean, it's very manual because they'll basically have to email customer service, I think, and just say like, can we pause? We're trying to figure that out. We did a website builder and we're trying to be very clever and have this box builder and everything, and it didn't really work. Kind of encourage people to buy less and then slow the site down. So it was a bit of a not great. So and that's kind of affected our subscriber, functionality, but we're trying to sort that out. But I think for that reason, pausing is it's not goodbye forever. I think pausing is a great way to avoid losing someone. So
yeah. I mean, I was thinking about Audible. The Audible subscription. They used to always have a pause option, and I've had Audible for I don't know, maybe 10 years, and hundreds of books in there or audios. And they used to have a pause, so I would pause, every other year, probably I'd pause for 6 months, and then I go back. But I know they've just recently, I'm sure they've just changed it. So it's not pause. I think it's half price for 3 months or something. They've changed it, so they've obviously been testing it and playing with it. But, it's those pauses has meant that I've stayed a customer for 10 years. Or the ability to be able to just change it. It's like some I won't mention too many brands, but there's quite a few well-known brands that I'm subscribed to, and they've got, there's the ability to pause, to be able to extend that. They might say 8, 9, 10 weeks is the maximum to the next order, but then if you're about to cancel, then enables you to sort of make it 12 weeks or something like that. It just opens other options. But so I need to order some of your stuff, I think, is the short version.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. We'll have to get some ordered. Like I say, my two sons are really into their sort of smoothies, and obviously you do all sorts of different products, but the different bowls of goodness. So let's talk about your focus on the sort of sustainability over the coming years. What are you sort of working on there?
So we've recently, I'd say the last couple of years, did a big project wanted to get rid of wanted to get the plastic out of the supply chain. So sort of had we're using like plastic doi pouches, which we started with. We've got them recyclable. I'm really pleased with ourselves. But basically, I found myself like not always, because you had to take it to the larger source to recycle. It was kind of like, well, I'm not always doing this myself. How can I be, expecting others to? And it felt a bit like we're just sort of passing the buck and giving our customers a task. So we made the decision that we were going to go into paper. So we had these cardboard cartons that everybody universally hated. I mean, they applauded the idea, but I think that it was just annoying them. They were bulky in the freezer. And we were like, sometimes the tab didn't work or things like that. So it was basically just a bit of a nightmare. But we found a paper bag solution, which, so you get all the versatility of a plastic bag, but it's paper. And this is, it's curbside recyclable. So you can just put it with your paper, in your green box or whatever color box you got. Just nice and easy. So really pleased with that. We're up for a Grocer Award for that in the new packaging awards. So very excited.
Oh, so you're up for an award? Yeah.
Up for an award. When's that out? On the 8th of November. And this is
exciting.
Oh, I know. It would be like winning an Oscar, except if you're really into packaging, which I am. So really looking forward to that. But the goal for the next 12 months would be to get the full product range in there. So at the moment, the smoothies are still wrapped in the, again, recyclable plastic, but we want to get them in paper, so that we are plastic free.
Yeah, it's a big project, that, isn't it? Getting that, figuring all that out and sorting all that out, but obviously a huge sort of step in the right direction. Yeah, brilliant. Yeah. Well, I'll be keeping an eye on the socials on the night of the 8th of November. Is it 8th of November? Yeah.
Yeah, 8th of November at Wembley Stadium, no less. So we'll be there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. For pretending it's the FA Cup.
So when you were at university then, did you think that the dream might be to win a packaging award?
Yeah, if I was going to be collecting an award at Wembley Stadium, I wouldn't have had that one down as what I thought it would be.
Imagine. We were talking off camera, weren't we? You were at UEA, which is where my son's actually at. Yeah. And he comes back with different. It's funny, we've had a couple of guests on that were at UEA, and a couple of people that we've had on. He's doing business, and the lecturer said, "Oh, back 5 years ago, we had this lady on the course that did this, this, and this." And she's been on the podcast. One particular lady, Bear Kind, which is they make socks, and around different animals that are endangered, and then they contribute so much of the sales to different charities. And so, but she was on the same course as my son, and yeah, tie it back in. But yeah, so you didn't think you'd be winning a packaging award back in your uni days?
No. Well, I was, as I said, I was doing international relations and modern history, so I was doing absolutely nothing to do with what I ended up doing. It's just sort of, just funny. It works out like that. But yeah, maybe
I wonder how many listeners are on now that were at uni, and then how many are actually doing something that they actually went to uni to learn. Probably less than half, way less. Yeah.
What did you do? Did you go to uni?
So I guess I sort of did what I'm doing now. So if I'm honest, I did. It was called Business Information Systems. So it was sort of the bit between business and tech, and that's sort of what I'm doing now. But insert e-commerce. I'm sort of very much my role is sort of consulting with brands on how they can use technology and e-commerce. But we focus on e-commerce. On marketing as an agency. We're SEO, PPC primarily first. Then all the other areas of e-com, we have partners that we recommend, which is very much sort of my degree, really. That sort of consultant helping firms with what tech they might need, whether that's, big tech or as it is now, e-com. So it is quite relevant to what I'm doing. But the amount of people I know, well, we've probably got, obviously a lot of people work here with degrees and masters and doctorates and this, that, and that, but very few did marketing at uni. We've got quite a lot of, you mentioned history, we've got quite a lot of people with history degrees that work here. Yeah. I just don't think they wanted to be a history teacher, so they decided to do e-commerce instead.
Yeah, I don't know what you do with your history degree other than, do more history. So I guess that's going to be the way it is.
I don't know. It's a quandary, isn't it? My son's he's just come back from a history trip. So in America, in Washington. So I think he only really did his A-level history, so he could go to Washington for a week. Which is quite
makes
smart,
sense. Good decision.
But and then he said, I'm not sure what I'm going to do with this A-level, because I definitely don't want to be a history teacher, but he enjoys it. He's very interested in it, but I'm not sure. I'm sure there'll be a lot of history teachers get hold of this episode now that will be like cursing us. You can do a lot more with a history degree than be a history teacher. I'm sure you can. I just don't know what it is, but hopefully we don't get slated for this, but I'm sure it'll be fine.
I think if you're interested, it's fine. You're following your passion, you're following your interest. I think that's a good thing to nurture that, and a good habit to be in that serves you well later on in your career.
I've generally found that the people I know that are really into the history, they are very smart people, very clever people, because I think it's a real generalization, but just remembering all the sort of history that you've been taught, and they can recall it all, and it's just really impressive. Yeah. Anyway, we digress. So I think obviously we've talked around quite a lot of positives around the story, and obviously getting getting into the retailers, getting on the shelves, obviously launching the e-com store, subscriptions, but as we know, there will have been a few challenges. I'm sure, what's been sort of one of the biggest challenges you've faced over the last few years, and how did you overcome it?
I would say that I'd say basically trying to grow with limited resources is tough. That we're just about at the sort of size now where we're a fully self-sufficient business and profitable. But when you're not, and you're trying to get there, and you're sort of, there's a lot of juggling and a lot of, if you like, you're trying to invest in the growth, but you can't invest too much because you've got, bills to pay, and you've got to look after your cash and everything. Yeah. So I'd say that trying to take that next, rung up the ladder and grow the business and sort of manage that with limited resources has been tough. We also spectacularly fell out with one of our larger retail customers, who I won't name, but they when we were this, we do everything now. So this is sort of how we got into beyond from just frozen smoothie mixes, but into like organic fruit and veg as well. Is that we used to buy a kind of made product, like we had a manufacturer and they would go and source everything. They were also this other customer of ours as manufacturer for some of their own label stuff. And then they had a conversation that we weren't party to about them basically ripping us off. And so we came out of said customer, and made a fuss, got them to write us a check. They didn't put the products in they were basically clones of our product, and we went our separate ways. But that was a fun but difficult challenge, that like having a fight with someone who's proper David and Goliath stuff.
So that resonates. Yeah, I can imagine a lot of the people listening. You come across obviously all sorts of people, don't you, that you're trusting certain suppliers, people along the supply line, and you're expecting a certain code of conduct. But unfortunately, every now and then, it's quite rare, I think. But unfortunately, yeah. So you overcame that. So they couldn't check, did they? Yeah.
That was it. We got they wrote us a check and we went up. Went our separate ways. I very happily worked with them again. It's just because you can't not really. But I think the lesson was about not being naive, and having your wits about you and your eyes wide open. But I think these lessons are great, and this is how you learn, and this is how you get experience, and this is how you move forward. So it's all good.
No, thank you for sharing that. So last couple of questions. I think what advice would you give to retailers right now, about sort of doing well at the moment? Obviously we've just come out of the summer, been quite challenging for a lot of brands, I think, is the short version, and not necessarily everybody, but that's the sort of general tone. We're sort of in Q4 now, but over this next sort of coming 6 months or so, what advice would you give to retailers?
I would say that if you're, this has been true for us, so I'm just going to share it and hope it's true for other people too. Which is that if you're selling a product and it's not just a one-off, you want people to come back. And I'd say that the customer service that you provide to that customer is as important as your product, because it's directly linked to your customer's experience of what your customers just experience of you, of the product, of the brand, of everything. So make sure that you look after them, and make sure you've got a fantastic customer service team that are gonna it's the best and almost strongest touch point with your customer when they've got a problem and they need you to fix it. So if you make that a positive experience for them, then I think that goes a hell of a long way for building that connection with the customer.
Yeah, brilliant. Well, thank you, Alex. It's been a pleasure having you on. I'm looking forward to keeping an eye on the story, and I'll keep an eye on the site and see what you add. I'll be doing some test subscriptions, seeing what you add there.
Yeah, fantastic.
And I'll cancel, see if you're trying to keep me there or not. But I like to finish every episode with a book recommendation. Do you have a book to recommend to our listeners, Alex?
Yes, it's not really e-com related. It's just a general one that I found really valuable, which was, there's a Navy SEAL called Jocko Willink. He's got a book called Extreme Ownership, and it is, I think it's just fantastic for when stuff's going on, and you can think, oh, what about this? What about that? What about this? It's just a really great way of thinking about what you can do, empowering you in the situation, and making you sort of not a victim of anything, but making you're in control. And I'd recommend it to anyone.
Brilliant. I have that one at home. Yeah, I think that's in my son's bedroom at the moment. That one, yeah.
Good. He's on his way. Then he's going to be just fine in uni.
Thank you. So, thanks for coming on the show. And I think it would be great if for those that want to find out more about yourself, more about Pact, what's the best way to do that?
Best way to do that would be to visit pact.co.uk. And there's more on the brand. There's obviously the full range of products that you mentioned, and much more.
Lovely. Well, thanks for coming on the show. I look forward to catching up with you again, maybe in a year or so, see how things are going.
That'd be great. Nice one. Thanks, Richard.
Lovely.
Cheers.
Thanks, Alex. Cheers. If you enjoyed this episode, hit the subscribe or follow button wherever you are listening to this podcast, so you're always the first to know when a new episode is released. Have a fantastic day, and I'll see you on the next one.